What's going on, guys? Junior's Fishing Company with a jig video today. I can't remember exactly what these are called. I'll have to put the description below. This is a Northland Tackle swim jig. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what they're called. I kind of like these heads. You can kind of see they're supposed to look like a fish, right? Most heads are. It's even got little nostrils and stuff on the front. But it's all white with a little bit of orange. And so what I'm going to do, it's going to be pretty much an all white bait, except for I've got some tan Arctic goat that I'm going to put down. So it's going to be a little bit of a tannish tail. And then I've got Moonlight Holographic Flashabou. It's kind of a good shady color. It's got like silver and a little bit of dark, like a black, a little bit of opal. And so that's what I'm going to end up doing. Now, this Arctic goat is like crazy long. And so I just cut off a pretty thin strip, and I'm going to fold back my extra. I'm going to double it over just to give it more body, because I didn't want to waste a ton of this stuff. I kind of tried to restack it, but I want this bait to be maybe a little bit longer than 5. The hook is actually really short for a 3/8 ounce weight, but I don't mind these jigs. Northland Deep V jigs might be my favorite walleye jigs I've ever had. These ones are pretty decent too. So I'll get that combed, and I'm just gonna get it pushed around as much as I can. I want to kind of avoid going around my hook too much, because I don't want it to get super tangled in my hook all the time. Then I'm just gonna fold this back right on top. Again, I just don't want a ton of stuff right on the bottom, so that'll add just a little bit more body to it. And then really the rest is going to be white. I've got just 3 stacks of white, and I'll get progressively thicker as I go up. The first one's going to be really thin. This is a really thin hook, and so I don't want to put too many materials on here, because small hooks like this just really don't like a ton of materials put on them. Sometimes they can fall off, or so you just got to be careful with a really thin. This is a really thin hook for how heavy this jig is. I'll just get that tied down. I'm not going to put my flash down yet. I'll get that tied down. I'm going to put my next stack of hair right where my thread ends. And I'll go about as far down with this one. And the next one's going to be a lot shorter. But this was good hair. I'm kind of down to some of my only good. I've got a couple of tails that are short, but so I'm going to put this down. And see, it already wants to roll because this hook is so thin. I won't say that again. I sound like a broken record, but it is. So I'll kind of tighten that up. Make sure that it's even, if anything. I wanted just a little bit of difference in this bait, so I put that brown in there, and I don't think I'll regret it. So I'm going to get that wrapped right up to the head, and I'm going to come back to right where my hair is, and I'm going to put my flash in. I can kind of taper this out, and I want it to go pretty far back, just about as far back, not quite as far as my brown goes back, but close. And I can do my best to get this spread around my hook. Then I'll just cut it and put it on the other side. Flip it around because these are already tapered. Make sure that it's not going to be too long. Get that pushed right on top. That flash won't be too buried with just one stack of hair on it. So it looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect, because the way I'm going to fish this jig anyway, it's not going to sit for too long. So any flash at all is going to help. And I'm going to get this cleaned up so I can put that last bit of deer hair on. Get all that extra tinsel out of the way. Because it's not necessarily going to add a ton of bulk because it's so thin. I just don't want it getting in the way of my hair when I'm trying to spin it. So this last stack, I made an intention of making sure that these tips are really even. I didn't want any longer hairs, because wherever I put this down, I want it to be even. It's going to be shorter than the others by probably close to 1 inch, just to get a little taper in there. And I'm going to come up here, make sure that it's all the way up, put it a little bit past my head, and there's going to be a lot of flare in here because this is from right on the base of the tail. And I'm going to get that spun around all the way around. It's always tricky right by your hook. If it's really annoying, you can just tie 2 plies and you'll be good. I'm going to get a little bit of flare out of this last one. And you can always just use your fingers too. But there's just a little bit of life in there. Then I'm going to get wrapped up. Now the tricky thing about getting all the way up here, the white on white is usually a little bit easier. Like black on black when I'm trimming these are usually really, really tough because the black is black. This white, it's not exactly the same. So I'm going to get this, I'm going to put my razor blade right on the edge of this thread. I'm going to cut this hair off to make my collar. White, a little bit of brown, a little bit of flash, a little bit of orange, Northland Tackle, swim jig. You don't need your plastics anymore. Hopefully this bait, this is just a really unique bait, and where the line sits with the design of the head, but I really like it. It's just a really unique jig head, and that's when I'm buying jigs, I usually steer away from just the standard, those dollar jigs that you grab out of the bucket, just because that's just me. But I like the eyes too, so this is a nice jig. Like and subscribe, comment below stuff you'd want to see. Junior's Fishing Company, juniorsfishing.com. See you in the next one.